it's like a paradox of like on one hand you're a high performer and you're so successful on paper, but having these internal struggles and kind of going through these burnout cycles.
Why I came to you, because you were just authentic and you were telling the truth. So that was, I think, the main game changer.
And that's something that I really hate about the coaching industry is like so many people try to sell shit that they don't embody themselves.
And you start to feel better. You also realize how far you come and how much energy you got, like leaving the struggle behind.
Welcome back to another episode of Fuck Conventional. This time I'm not in Bali, I'm not in Munich anymore. This time I'm in Berlin and have a very special guest today. Today Yvonne is with me and she has been in my coaching for over a year. It has been quite the journey that we've been on together. And so today we are going to be talking about your journey with the ADHD diagnosis, but also the business that you are starting now and how you were able to use your ADHD for your advantage in your business.
Looking forward to it.
Let's get this party started. First of all, thanks for joining me today. And thank you for, trusting me this past year. So let's dive right in. Your process to get the ADHD diagnosis was anything other than smooth. You've been late diagnosed as well, just like me, in your 30s. So I would like to talk about what that was for you like and what was your learnings from that whole experience.
Yeah, maybe I should start that I'm already 40, so not that young anymore. But I have been like through my whole life, I was always like a stand-up person. So every time there were struggles, I was going through the struggles and standing up again. And I never knew why it was so much harder for me than for every other person. And there, the diagnosis came like an eye-opener for me. So when I was diagnosed within 2024, so I was already 39 at that age, so really, really late in my career, and it was so enlightening for me because there were so many things that I realized are not normal and why my brain works differently than other brains. So that was really, a tough but also a really nice thing to have at that time. And from that point on, or already when I had my pre-diagnosis, which came in 2023, end of 2023, it was, a journey from learning and also appreciating my brain. And that was just amazing.
The difference about you, though, is that you have always been an incredible high performer. You've been very successful in your career. You've had leadership positions. And yet, just like me, and I think this is also one thing that we connected over is, it's like a paradox of like, on one hand, you're a high performer and you're so successful on paper, but having these internal struggles and kind of going through these burnout cycles that keep on going. And so I would love to dive with you into that and how you manage that and what you learned from that.
Yeah, so starting with my first diagnosis of a burnout with 20. So I was still in school. I was moving out of my parents' home when I was 18 and I was working besides school. I was working more than I was actually at school, and I attended all my classes. So I didn't skip the classes, but in the evenings I worked through the nights. And there was already the first time where I experienced like massive periods of depression and like the burnout feelings, like dizziness and sickness and all the things that are coming together. And nobody could tell me why. They just said like, I'm too sensible for this and I can't do it. And then I made my Abitur, like my finishing of school in Germany. And then I didn't know what to do. And as I was working in a restaurant, I started to do a hotel business. So I started doing an apprenticeship to be a hotel specialist. And after a few years and after my apprenticeship, I started like, I want to do something else and I want to do more. So I got into university and stepped into the university career, but still going back to learning was so hard, especially at a common university where I started to realize I can't do it like that. I need like a school system. So I switched again from LMU study to do a dual study system where I had more like a class feeling, more like a schoolish working surrounding and working besides university, and always got my money to not worry about money every month. So that was a really great experience. And from there onwards, it got even crazier because I was not doing only my study in my dual study system. I also did my trainee to be a communication specialist and worked in a PR agency for 3 years. And from there onwards, I already started kind of a business, but it was just a side business where I could write invoices to clients. But it was always such a fun thing to do because I worked in catering, I worked in like for events and in the football, in the soccer area, and I did just things always on the side where
so the
I
classical
had fun.
jack of all trades, basically doing a million things at once, not typical ADHD at all.
Yeah, I never wanted to get bored, so
I can relate.
every time I did something, the whole time again I got bored. And that's also, I think, the reason why I got into marketing and product management, because product management is also something where you can't plan your day like an everyday routine. So I started to approach a career in product management, and that's why I sticked into like an industry business with the pharmaceutical industry for more than 10 years. And yeah, there also my further interest, which is I learned that it's a complete hyper focus with like how the human body works. So I wanted to understand more, and that was one opportunity to also learn more about the medical part of our system, like our human body. And yeah, so I combined marketing and also my interest in medical or the medical business to work in this area.
So even though we obviously have a completely different background in terms of the career that we have, what I see the commonality is like being highly ambitious, always having that drive to wanting to do more, being kind of like obsessed with, fulfilling your potential and kind of like learn as much as you can, being a jack of all trades. And so being so interested in so many different things, then getting a hyper focus, really dive deep into one thing. But at the same time, ADHD is such a paradox in terms of you're so easily bored, and at the same time, you're also so easily overwhelmed. And so you need to find basically the perfect balance and middle ground in order to sustain the work that you're doing, which is also why so many entrepreneurs ADHDers turn entrepreneurs, right? One thing that we also talked a lot about in a coaching is this whole thing of kind of always feeling restless and always feeling like no matter how successful you are, the success is never enough, which is also oftentimes this trauma response that comes from, growing up undiagnosed ADHD, that people tell you like you can't, and so you're just trying to outwork the doubts that everybody had. What was that for you? Especially looking back at like the journey over the last year working on that, because there have been so many times where you went into the coaching call and was like, I didn't do anything this week. I didn't finish my task. And then you started to list all the things that you did. And I'm like, did you actually do nothing? Or did you just have that perception of yourself once again that you didn't do enough? I think that was one of the biggest things that we had to work through. So how do you feel about that now?
That's a really great question. I try to keep it short. So starting like maybe from the point where we met. So I was already looking for a coach to guide me through all the struggles that I had and all the things that I realized went wrong kind of within my career path. Because my career path is everything but linear. So I would say why I came to you, because you were just authentic and you were telling the truth. So that was I think, the main game changer, because many coaches out there, I had several calls and like intro calls with coaches, and they always try to talk around and not be straight in their communication. And that's something what I really appreciate about you.
Thank
because
you.
you're not mean, but you are straight in your communication. And that's, I think, the key point that I needed at that time to start thinking differently, which I managed by now a little bit better than I
Work
did
in progress.
than I did 1 year ago. But also, I think as soon as you get your diagnosis, it's not an excuse. I mean, there are also many people who get diagnosed and then just hide behind their diagnosis. And I'm not such a person. I want to use my difference in thinking to push forward. And I want to learn how I get the best version out of my brain, and to be as productive and creative and everything that makes my brain special even better. Maybe that's also the high performance part of me.
Yes.
But still, what I really learned is to manage the balance between being like having an excuse and being more self-respective also with my body, with my the breaks that I need. Also, not being too much, not hiding too much out of my personality, because maybe some people are intimidated also by a big personality. And I always try to hide my kind of light to not intimidate anyone. And I think with all the process that we went through this year, and also what happened in the past year, I managed to outshine myself. And now I think with the upcoming year, looking 2026 forward, and also with my business, I feel more myself than I ever did. And I think I couldn't have done it without you.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh my God, that makes me emotional. Honestly, I mean, I told you this many times, but I'm so proud of how far you've come. It takes so much courage to be so open and vulnerable in the coaching space. Oh my gosh. And there were many hard moments, just like life is. There's a lot of hardships. And you're right, I'm a very straightforward person. At the same time, I have a lot of empathy, but I don't always go into sympathy, because sympathy means that you feel sorry for somebody and you kind of let them be in this disabled position where they feel like they cannot change the situation. And so for me, it's very different to have empathy and to have like compassion for where you at, but still pushing you to go further. Because like my coach said it in the most beautiful way, like your clients trying to sell you on their limitations, but you trying to sell them on their potential. And I just saw this incredible potential in you. And so all I did was being the mirror for showing you all the amazing things that you already carry inside of you. And just, like you said, help you to shine your light even further. But you also said something that I love so much, and that I said so many times. We're in a restaurant right now, by the way. So if there's any background noises, that's what you hear right now.
Just ignore it.
ADHD brains as if, but okay. So I think there's two types of ADHDers. So there's a type of ADHDer that gets their diagnosis and then say, I cannot because I have ADHD. And then there's a ADHD who says, yes, certain things are very difficult for me, but I choose to use this diagnosis to learn everything I can about my brain and then to get even better. And that's the type of ADHD that the two of us are. And this is also why we started these businesses. So for me, there's a difference between shaming yourself for like not having a normal brain and like function different than like maybe neurotypical people. And it's all about finding the fine balance between self-acceptance and self-complacency, because you can accept things about yourself that you may not like and that are difficult for you, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that you use them as an excuse to not work on getting better. And that's what I see is happening in the ADHD space a lot. Like, I personally don't really consume any ADHD content because 99% of what I see is people encouraging each other to use that label to kind of feel sorry about yourself. But there's a difference between acknowledging that something is hard for you and keeping yourself stuck in absolute victim mentality of telling yourself, I just can't because I have ADHD. Yeah, it might be hard for you, but it doesn't mean that it's not like possible. And so if that wouldn't be the case, there wouldn't be so many incredible, successful ADHD entrepreneurs. So it's really all about starting to acknowledging your differences, learning everything that you can about your brain, and then use it for your advantage. And now we're getting back into what you're going to be creating a business about, which okay, let's start the sentence again. Kind of slightly distracted by this guy cleaning the windows right now. If I can focus on two things, clearly not. So you're about to launch your own business. So to maybe like go back, when you first started working with me, you were still in a leading position in like a really good company. You made good salary, and yet you were willing to walk away from that to really follow your purpose and your passion. And now you're about to launch your own business. And I'm so excited for you to announce what it is and the name of it, which, you know, it's been a journey to get there. So what is your new business?
So starting from the idea, so I worked a long time in the industry business. And now that I have my diagnosis and understand where all my struggles came from, I saw what we are still lacking in companies. And this is knowledge about neurodiverse brains and how to manage them and how they think, and especially that the motivational factors are just different than neurotypical brains. And that usually our brains work like, this works for me, maybe that works for you. But if you have a manager who is neurotypical and this manager thinks this structure works, so use the structure, and you're neurodiverse, it just doesn't work. And there is my approach, because I want to do coaching and creating more awareness with also speaker events for companies, especially for leaders, to create more awareness, to get more structure for neurodiverse brains into companies, and to create a bigger understanding. And yeah, that's just the purpose, to get also a win-win-win situation for the companies. Because those leaders who really care about their employees, they struggle hard when they have an employee who they don't understand and they think, I see the potential, but why doesn't it work? And with a guidance on neurodiverse brains, they can better guide and lead their employees. The employees, therefore, are more confident, are more likely to stick with this manager, and also conflicts are reduced maximum. Because I know from my own path how many conflicts I had with my managers, because I wanted to work. And if I had a manager who just let me do my stuff like I wanted to do it, I was a really high performer and I got really, really overperforming feedback and also overperforming numbers. But having a manager not being so open with structure and everything, I was named like a low performer, and like my KPIs never showed low performing, but the understanding was different. And therefore I was just always hurt, and then I shut down and I wanted to quit with this company. It's also creating a better relationship between manager and employee, and that's what's mainly emotional leadership is about. And if the employee feels more confident and has a better relationship, can be guided more through the processes, I'm sure the output of this employee and the performance is rising maximum.
Exponentially,
and yeah, that's, I think, a win-win-win for the company, for the employee, and of course the leaders. And that's where I want to approach.
What I love most about this is it's exactly what I did, turning your pain into purpose. All the struggle that you experience from like being a high performer, but not always get the environment that encouraged you to perform at the level that you know you were capable of, because people didn't understand how your motivation works, like what kind of structure you need. And to then use that pain that you experienced and turn it into purpose of, okay, I understand exactly what it means to be in a leadership position with ADHD, having, being employed by somebody who doesn't understand how your brain works, and now supporting companies. Having an ADHD or even somebody on the autism spectrum that really knows like how to leverage their unique thinking and their pattern recognition and their empathy and all of those things, right, that we're so gifted with, and to like really use them and leverage them, you have the most incredible employee. So there's not a lot of us that like to be employed because also issues with authority, right? But at the same time, if you do provide the right structure, if you do give them enough freedom, which is also a very big driving factor, right? Then they can really excel in their career. And so I absolutely love how you turned your story into what you now do and how you can help people and support in that journey. So what's the name of your company?
So welcome to my Cogniverse. Cogniverse is created out of cognitive universe and neurodiversity. So that's how I created the brand, which is already registered in the German patent and
like trademark
center. So this brand is registered. So I'm really proud of that. And also it shows the uniqueness of my business, because many coaches out there who focus on neurodiversity, it's one thing that they just focus on ADHD or autism. I'm focusing on the whole spectrum. So also the things like synesthesia or OTC or all the other things, dyscalculia and everything. I'm focusing on all the parts where I can get a range for the leaders to have individual situations sorted out. How do I get the knowledge? I never knew it, but I have an awesome network.
You do.
And
you're the queen of networking. Like every single time I get a voice note from you, I was like, okay, I met the CEO of this company and he connected me with them and with them. Like you have the most insane network, which it's gonna be so beneficial. And just quick side note, what I love about what you're doing is that you are really, and that's a key thing, and that's something that I really hate about the coaching industry, is like so many people try to sell shit that they don't embody themselves. Everything that you teach other people is the path that you have walked before. And so you have not just the knowledge because you learned it, but because you lived it. And when you lived it and then you apply the knowledge, that's how you really help people transform. It's the same thing if somebody's trying to teach you fat loss, but the person has never been overweight. You understand it, but you will never understand the struggles that the person has internally and the mind fucks that are going on. And so by you having walked that path, you are going to be transforming so many companies. And I'm genuinely so excited. So quick side note. Didn't want to interrupt.
Thank you. Thank you. Now I'm really proud of my network, because it was never about networking for me. It was really about personal interest in people. And that's, I think, also why many people from my networks were sticking with me and were always in contact. And if I now ask them for like a favor, or can we get an exchange meeting and can I get your opinion on something, they are really open, because I never was just networking for the networking reason. And that's also something I can only recommend. Don't do it for the network, do it for or political things, hierarchy or something like that. Just be interested in the people, because that's a game changer. And
again, I can relate so much. And this is also one thing that I see in Bali over and over again, that people just trying to collect like Instagram followers. Like, okay, like I've met this person at an event. Okay, but how much do you actually know about this person? Can you reach out to that person? And so for me, but I also think that's, again, a very neurodivergent thing. First of all, we relate differently, especially like more on the ADHD side of things. Like you hate small talk. So you go really deep with people, which tends to be quite unique in like the day-to-day world, because you talk about the really deep things. And so therefore you also create a deeper connection because you're genuinely interested in the person and what the person has to say. And when the other person feels that you have genuine interest and that you're listening and not just asking questions because you're trying to get something out of it, that's also how I end up in the rooms with the most successful entrepreneurs, because I genuinely care about what these people have to say. And so if you go into a room thinking, not what can I get, but how can I give? How can I give value and add value to their life? That's how you create real connections. And you're so freaking good with that. Like, it's always like, I love your voice notes. Like, the enthusiasm every single time is like, Jess, oh my God, you won't believe what happened this week. And I'm just like, fuck, I love it. It's like, I'm always getting popcorn ready. I'm like, okay, I got a voice note from Yvonne. I was like, okay, what is it going to be this time? Like, I absolutely love it. But then again, we've been to the highest highs and the lowest lows, because that's also what ADHD is about, right? Like, you feel everything so deeply. And so that for me is also a thing to being able to provide a container where you feel safe enough to be seen and witnessed in both, because you know that you are fully accepted and held like within both of those parts, because that's something that I've always struggled with really deeply. So I don't know how I got here, like completely silent. We were talking about networking before. Here I am. If I maybe have ADHD, we don't know.
Yeah, so maybe I can directly jump into this. Yes. Because like what I wanted to say is that in my network, I also have neurodiverse brains in my network, like people, especially with really rare neurodiverse thinking, like synesthesia, where I exchange with, I have this and this symptoms. What do you have? And we're just exchanging. And that's how I learn also about the other neurodiverse thinkings and structures. And of course, it's always really individual because it's a spectrum. But with my network and exchanging with all these people, I learn even better how the individuals can think and what the need is also for especially leaders in companies, getting back to this, to get tools which they can use and questions which they can use with their employees. And I think I can be really good at that because I tried it already in my private network, like not really coaching, but exchanging with also HR managers, for example. And I think we all, like, every neurodiverse person knows the struggle with people telling, I have that too. And
that's like the most common conversation every single time. I was like, oh yeah, been there, done that.
But you know, which is the question that I realize is the most relatable for getting, if you have especially like ADHD and being neurotypical?
What is it?
Can you shut down your brain when you go to bed?
I know I can't. Never. It never stops for even a second.
Right. Yeah. And neurotypical brains can. Yeah. And that's because when I get to other symptoms, people always say, oh, I know that. I can relate. And then with a bad question, they are like, oh, really? And how do you sleep at night? And I'm telling them, yeah, I just fall asleep at some point, but till then my brain struggles and like spirals, and if I wake up at night at 2 a.m. my brain spirals directly again. And I just fall asleep at any point again and wake up in the morning and welcome back, brain.
It's like, I don't know about you, but I wake up in the morning, it's like the switch turned on and like literally 1,000 thoughts at the same time are literally flooding my brain. I'm just like, okay, can you like, can I get a second just to like open my eyes first?
You know, when I was writing my business plan, I had the deadline to send it to a supporting part for my journey for getting my business started. And I was writing the last parts, and in the night I really woke up at 2 a.m. and I was texting parts of my business plan in my brain, and I was like, with another voice, it was telling me, what the fuck, are you crazy? Why are you writing parts of your business plan in your head right now? Another voice was telling me, go back to sleep. And the fifth part was like, oh my God, you only have 4 hours left to sleep, so you should get back to that. So welcome to ADHD thinking.
Yeah. But at the same time, I would not change or trade my busy ADHD brain for anything in the world. Like, as exhausting as it is, it's so fun. And like also every single time you have a conversation with another ADHDer, it's like a ping pong ball and it never gets boring. It's always exciting. And I just absolutely love it. So one thing that I also love is, so you get your business officially off the ground on the 1st of February. You basically are already like fully booked. Like you already have like a wait list of like a million people that are like, okay, as soon as you get started, I want to work with you. So that is literally the best way to start your business. So I would love to know, what were the key takeaways for you over the last year, and the tools that you got from me to kind of use your ADHD for your advantage, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, first, it's a journey, and it's not enough to just hear the things. You just need to feel them. And once you get to a point where you realize that's what Jess was talking about, then you finally know, okay, that's for example, my upper limit problem. Because I was always, for example, like the yin-yang system, which I still kind of believe in, but if you think, if this part in my life goes so well, this part needs to shut down, it's just the wrong thinking, because it doesn't have to. And if you start to realize where you always self-sabotage yourself, it's also an eye-opener. And that's, for example, one thing. Or to manage my energy. How do I, for example, get to bed, get tired? I need to do something like breath work or just some meditation work, or at least some point where I don't use my mobile, don't sit in front of the TV or something like that, and just think or like listen to the thoughts that I have in my brain and start realizing, do I need to write down something to not forget? And then to have it out of my mind for the night at least? Or is it just general thoughts, and start listening closer to the thoughts that I have? Because sometimes in our hustle, we forget that we need to listen to our brain and our body and what does it want to tell us. And the signs are always there where we need to look closer. And that's something I learned too in this year, because there were many signs and I changed a lot. I left a lot in the past year, which I don't use anymore, like behaviors. And I think those are, I think, the key takeaways. So just in like overall, or doing like a summary, just listen to your body and feel yourself, and don't forget about that.
So for me, looking at it from the outside, I think the biggest change that I saw in you is kind of like, first of all, the courage. Because for you to being able to walk away from a job with so much security, with such a good salary, and to say, I'm going to go all in on myself, I bet on myself, I believe in myself, that was really quite the journey to like build up that confidence and that like unshakable belief. If I look at you now, like you're so confident, and I feel like there's not a doubt that you're going to be super successful. Like I have zero whatsoever. But that for me also, I think what it comes down to was your level of self-acceptance throughout the last year, because there were so many times where you were being so hard on yourself and beating yourself up when you had like a bad low dopamine day. And I noticed so well, and that was one of the things that was always holding me back the most in my business, that if I had a bad day, especially, being a woman, having our hormonal cycles, playing into the ADHD symptoms as well. And it's like, I always say it's like a torch, and you basically, all you see is what you can do, what is bad right now. And it's almost like your brain shuts out everything that is good. And so by not taking too much importance on those days and to see them for what it is, like, okay, I'm going through some hormonal changes, like in 2 days I'm going to be fine. And by allowing yourself to be in that, not beating yourself up, finding acceptance for that, that for me is always how you turn around that self-sabotaging behaviors that you then spiral into, that take weeks in order to get out. What like took you a few weeks in the beginning, now you have a bad day, literally the next day you turn it around, you're like, okay, let's go, I'm back on track. And I feel like the reason why you're able to bounce back so fast is that self-acceptance, because you understand exactly what is coming from, what you need in order to get better, and then just turn it around like that.
But I have to admit, it also comes down to self-reflection. Because without self-reflection, you can't accept things in your life. So I think it's a combination. So maybe starting there, it also needs courage to look at the things that you need to look at, because with just hiding all the time or running away from it or hustling to not look at them, that's what I meant with feeling what is there. You just need to start at that point, and then I think the courage comes from itself, because once you look at the struggles that you really have, and you realize you made it through them, and you are standing up again and you start to feel better, you also realize how far you come and how much energy you got, like leaving the struggle behind. So yeah.
One thing I always say is shame grows in the dark. So the more you're trying to push down the things that you don't like about yourself, behaviors that you don't like, once you bring them into light, and also having you being witnessed in that, which takes so much courage to be vulnerable, having that level of being seen and being witnessed, not being judged for it, I feel like that's also where a lot of the self-acceptance comes in. I was like, okay, I don't have to perform, I don't have to wear a mask, it's safe to be seen, it's safe to, see these parts of myself, accept them, and that's how you turn them around. So yeah, well said.
Thank you. But again, that's where your coaching came in, because I know that I'm a self-reflectant person, or self-reflecting person, but you pointed out things that I was like my blind spots, because sometimes you need a mirror because you just don't see them. And of course, I also have friends that are really, really straight in their communication as well. I really appreciate that. And not everybody has that, because also in friendships, people tend to not talk about things because they don't want to hurt you. But still, I'm really happy if my friends also tell me like the blind spots, or also kind of laying the finger in the salted finger in the wound. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It hurts, but it helps. And if you're not running away and looking away from it, you can be such a, I don't want to say better version of yourself, because it's not always about changing yourself or something like that. But things can get really easy if you leave things that you don't need anymore in the past.
From the experiences that I had with the neurodivergent people that I work with, we tend to be very self-aware. So it's not that we don't know our shit. It doesn't always mean that we're able to change that without any perspective from the outside. And I have been to many different therapists, so have you. And it was always just like, how does it make you feel? And like talk about the past. But that doesn't really help, because you see the things that happened in your past and like how they played into it doesn't always mean that you know how to change them. So for me, having practical tools that you can use in your day-to-day life to regulate your nervous system when you're like in the middle of chaos, and the right meditations and all of those different tools, that's when you really see a shift in your behavior. And having people point that out when you fall back into these old habits and sabotage, like you said, with your upper limit problem. And that's combining all of those different things. That's how you change. And like you said, like it's a freaking process. And we've been doing this for a year, and every single week I was like, okay, this is the mirror, what's been happening, right? And I personally think that every coach, like every person, but like especially every coach should have a coach, because I also have my blind spots. And so I also purposefully, oh my God, what a difficult word, chose a mentor that is really hard in terms of being a mirror and having absolutely zero sympathy for me being in victim mentality and pointing that out. And I feel like that's how you learn and grow. But yeah, some people like to stay in their victim mentality, and that's why they just don't want to have an uncomfortable mirror.
I think that's also a good point to mention that when it comes to my coaching approach, also, of course, I will look at individual situations, and I want to get leaders to understand more about the neurodiverse brains. But of course, I know that still doesn't matter if neurotypical or neurodiverse. There are people who just don't want to look at issues and who are hiding and who are just the non-performers. We have to admit they are there. And of course, coaching can't change anything about that. So my approach is more, especially for the leaders and the managers who want to change and learn. And on the other hand, of course, people who want to be the high performers, who want to look at things, but where they need guidance, they get the guidance they need. So that's my approach. And coming to that, I'm only one person in my business. So I will be like the one person being Cogniverse. And I
For
can't
now.
for now, but yeah, like let's get started here and look where it goes. But still looking at, it's not like every manager needs this training or this coaching. Yeah, I mean, there will be people finding me because they want to learn. And people who don't want to learn about it, I don't want to convince them about neurodiversity. Because if people don't trust in this like terminology, I don't want to convince them about anything. I mean, I worked over 10 years now in the pharmaceutical industry. I worked a lot of with physicians, and I learned how to read medical papers and studies and everything, and how to interpret them, and then how to translate them into easy words. So I read a lot also about neurodiversity and, of course, all the papers that are out there. And I know that this is a fact, and that there is a difference in the brains and in the thinking, and also, like I said in the beginning, in motivational system. And if somebody doesn't trust facts, I can point the facts out, but I will never say, but you have to believe in this and this, because that's not my approach.
I totally agree. I don't think there's a point in trying to change people that are not ready to change. People change when they're willing and ready to change. But also, circle back to the beginning, what you said, the reason why you came to me and why you resonate with me is because I was authentic. And so for me, I asked you this question yesterday. Do you feel like there's any difference between how I am like in real life outside of my content and the person that I am? And you said no. And that's, I think, how you attract the right clients, by being as authentic as possible. And so therefore you attract the right people who are ready for the information and the knowledge and the coaching tools that you have. And so it's not about convincing people, but it's about being so unapologetically yourself and speaking your truth that the right people will gravitate towards you. And that's how you create like marketing in magnetism.
Yeah, and that's, for example, I had an exchange meeting in December with one of my former colleagues who was the HR leader of the company, and like he left 2 years ago, but he is still like in the management position for the like global company, and he's like on a board. He's a board member of the company, and it was so crazy because he was just like interested because I did a LinkedIn post on like I'm leaving that company, and I got diagnosed with ADHD, and here are some facts about it, and follow for more. And then he got connected. So he was thinking that we are just generally talking about ADHD, and because I didn't want to push my business before not getting everything sorted out. So at that point in time, we were just exchanging. And then he was so overwhelmed by the idea, and he wants to get me connected also with universities who are doing research on ADHD, especially in the work business, because he's he just said, like, I think the exact words were, I did come into this meeting without any expectations, but I definitely want to connect with you again, and I want your coaching, and I want to connect you with my network. And I never thought that this will be the output of this meeting. And that was just my, wow, I think I can really move something out there, because that's also what I am. I'm authentic, and I don't want to sell anything, because I just want to change something. It's not about selling, because the selling comes from itself. Because as soon as people understand that they have an advantage of the knowledge, I think it's a self-seller. So I'm sure.
If you're the embodiment of what you're trying to sell, you never have to worry about getting a client again.
Yeah.
I think that's
it.
That's the way. So let's end it here. And let's just quickly dive into, where can people reach you? What can they book?
So I'm starting in February 2026 with my business. My platform will be LinkedIn. So if you follow Yvonne Datzmann for more, that's my profile, and there I will post about the next steps of my business. I already reserved the website cogniverse-coaching.com, but there's no website yet, so it will be built in the next month. But I'm sure if you Google Cogniverse, for sure, in the next month, you will also find me with that keyword. And of course, with you, your listeners, I think they can approach you as well if they want to learn more.
Is everything linked in the show notes as well? So nobody has to remember all the words.
Read the captions.
Click the link below.
What I'm offering is one-to-one coaching, especially for leaders. I want to approach companies, companies above 50 people, and especially industry, because the processes and structures are really complex. And I will be doing speaker programs, half day, full day. Just reach out and we can work on individual contracts, what you need. And yeah, I will do for the starters, I will do mini workshops with a part of what I'm doing in my speaker programs, which are open for everyone. So I will post the links in the comments as soon as I have the first workshop coming up. So
love that. One last question.
Yes.
Would you recommend my coaching?
Definitely. No, definitely not do it, because then I have more time for more coaching with you.
Okay, so you love the coaching with me so much that you don't actually want to have other people coming to me, so I have more time for you. Okay, I mean that says everything.
So, I will definitely stick longer time with you, because because obviously when we reached out, the first thing that I saw was wow, that's a lot of money, but it's money I invest in myself, and that's what I see, and I see the results that I'm getting, and that's why I know that this money is not lost money. It's in an it's investing
in yourself.
Investing in myself. Sorry, my brain is sometimes overwhelmed as well.
No problem at all. Okay, well, thank you for your honesty. Thank you for your trust, for your courage, and for being on this journey with me. I'm truly honored to be your coach and to having witnessed you in this entire change, and now getting your business so fucking successful.
Thank you.
You're gonna be rocking.
Thank you. Thank you also for everything. And thank you also for the invitation to this podcast.
My absolute pleasure. To many more.
Definitely.